Welcome to Money is For You podcast, brought to you in collaboration with Notable Wealth Management Inc. I am Jacqueline Correia, your host for this journey. So, I actually woke up this morning thinking to myself that I would come into the studio and talk about finance and about products and whatnot. And my higher guide says, why don't you start the podcast with when you got laid off? And I just shook my head and said, okay, you got a plan. So today we are going to talk about the key is to trust yourself. We have to, and that is also my word for 2025 is trust. So for the fact that these two are lining up, it's just, I know there's somebody out there that needs this message. So my journey, it was 2022, the year of 2011. I remember it was January 2nd. I just started the new year. And as I walked in the hall of the corporation I worked at the time, I remember my higher guide said, put your house in order. This is your last year. And I just went to my desk and the year started. And by April, I had done my resume. I had refinanced my mortgage because my mortgage was coming up for renewal. So I thought I'd call it in early. And I did all of that. And by June 14th, I was laid off. So again, the key here is trusting yourself. I listened to my higher self told me what to do, and I did it. So I was pack it off, and I went home. Wasn't shocked, was prepared for it. So I was not disappointed because I knew I needed more than what the company could give me. What I did not expected that I would be laid off for, I would be unemployed for 2 years. So here I was, had a mortgage, a single mom, and my kid was in university, which I now had to put things in order so that we can survive this. They'd give me a package, and I had good, thank God I had over the years had it built up an emergency fund through a match contribution that I had with the corporation. So they had dumped all this money back at me that I had to now manage. And I remember the summer came and, everything was good. And now we were going into fall. And I remember sitting on the porch of my home. And I remember saying two things. My God, whatever you're doing to me, do not let me lose my home, but find me a job that I can work from home. Today, I'm actually working from home. I have my own company and I'm working from home. So we have to be careful with words that we use and realize that every word we speak is a prayer. So we must understand that we must listen to our inner guides when it's speaking to us. And we have to trust our inner self, trust ourselves to know that everything will work out and it will work out for our higher good. So, but it was not an easy journey. Being off work for 2 years was not part of my plans. In this process, we weren't qualified. My son wasn't qualified for student loans. So I now had to, in all the confusion, I had to make payment plans to the university to make monthly deposits so that my son will stay in school. And some of the things that we don't recognize is that kids see what we're going through and they end up worrying more than we do. Even though I said to my son at the time, I will take care of this. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that you have, give me a certificate. But in the process, he ended up getting an ulcer. So we also had to deal with all that because as much as I'm saying, I will take care of this, he was seeing the stress that I was going through because as much as I'm trying to hide it, I was still going through my stress. I mean, one of the things that I had learned to do is go into my room, my spare room, and meditate and just trust in myself that the next move will come. And when I got quiet and I got peaceful, I would always get the information as to what to do next. So, for the 2 years that I was unemployed, I pretty much used up all of my savings because I had built up an emergency fund. So they had paid me, I think, 10 months of employment that, because I had worked for that company for 11 years. And even that, I had to go to a lawyer because, again, it was an American company and they wanted to be cheap. They even said to me that, your government said you was entitled to 20 weeks of unemployment, which is, as an American company, I guess that was not entitled. So I said, no, you choose to work, you choose to do business in Canada. And so those are the agreements for you doing business in Canada. So what I was entitled to, give it to me. So I had to take it to a lawyer because I did not agree at the time with what was given to me. And eventually, they worked the thing out. One of the things also is that the lawyer's fees that I had to pay, it was a write-off, a tax write-off, which I learned that from there, where my lawyer said to the corporation, listen, this is a tax write-off for you guys, so you can observe her legal fees. And so they also did that. Every experience that we go through, I think when we're going through the experience, we ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? But, we learn a lot of the times, there's always a lesson in what we're going through. And I think sometimes if we stop and step back, there's a scripture that I love. It's called, "Be still and know that I'm God." And it is such a powerful message because it teaches you to sometimes stop running, stop just on the go, and just step back and allow things to process. Take a walk, where there's trees, or, go to the lake and just listen to the prompting of the Spirit, because that's when He's able to speak through you and tell you what it is that you need to do. I call them knowledge and I call it wisdom. So, those are things that I would say to you when I talk of it. The key is trust in yourself. We live in a society where so much we look outside ourselves for the answer, but all the answers that we need as the direction that we need to go comes from internal. It's trusting ourselves internally so that everything starts within and it comes outward. But you have to start from within. So the key is trust. So as I said, I look at my life today. I mean, when I was going through it, I could not believe that I could be here today. And I even wish that I trust myself more back then, because I think I would be better off. But I know everything is a journey, and there's a journey why I had to go through the things that I had to go through, so that I'm a better teacher and I'm able to explain these things better to my clients. So, in all the journey, I mean, I was able to go through, I say to people that even though I was unemployed for 2 years, the only thing that I had happen was just a crack in the foundation of my home. Meaning I didn't lose my home. I was able to pay for my son to go to university and complete it. I mean, I had a lot of debts when I was done, but the fact that I was still grateful that I had the foundation built before, so that when it did happen, I could go back and draw on that money to live on during the time I was going through my rough time. So in that process, I was invited to go into this business called being an advisor. It's not something I was looking forward to, and not something that I thought I would go into or even thought I was qualified for. And believe it or not, I went to a company that it starts with a P, and I'm not going to bring their name to it. I didn't make any money working for that company. But one of the things, I was there for 1 year. But one of the things I'll say to you, I learned so much. So again, sometimes we are put into positions or places, and it's not so much about the money, but there's always a lesson or there's something to be taught being in there. So in the 2 years of being laid off, again, I was trying to figure out where I need to be, where do I want to go. I know I did not want a job where I had to be, and somebody telling me when I can go on vacation, when I can go to the bathroom. I just know I did not want that. At that time, I didn't know that I was a born entrepreneur and I like to be self-employed and work on myself. These were the times I got to know who I truly was. So I was invited to be licensed at this company, on which I did. And I sat there for an entire year. And as I said, I did not make any money, but I learned so much from the company. So was it the right choice that I was invited there? Yes, because it taught me, as I call it, it was me going to school for a year. It taught me so much. And the funny thing was, I had built up a clients list by, in the time I was going there, I was seeing clients. I was, trying to do business, but nobody wanted to do business because I was with the company that I was at. At the time, nobody was telling me that's the reason, but I could figure that was the reason. So the year that I sat there, just literally going to, because they were teaching me how to do the business. They were teaching me how to be disciplined. They were teaching me the right things to say. They were teaching me how to learn the products. And so all of those things I was learning. So I took that opportunity that year as being a teacher, meaning I was learning how to, I was just learning the business. I was learning to be better as who I can be if this was what I was going to stay in. After the year was up, I had to make a decision, because after this was within the 2-year period that I was laid off, because I was now run out of all the savings that I had. I ran out of everything. And all I had left was like 34,000 that was in a locked in, what we call a lira. It was a locked in pension. The remainder of what the company I was working for had transferred out to me. And I remember telling myself I was going to take from this locked in lira $10,000. And when this money run out, I either have to be in a job, because I told myself when this money run out, I must be at a job, or I would be somewhere that was paying me an income. And that was January of 2013. And in all of that, I was like, still stressed out. I was, and I had now put my resume back on the market to find something. And again, here I'm thinking I'm going to go find a job. I mean, I'm at the desperate point now. This is the point that you never actually jump to do something but desperation sometimes causes you to do stuff. So now I'm actually going back to do something that I didn't want to, because remember, in the beginning of 2011, I said, I really don't want to go back to a job. I didn't want to go back to a desk job, and I wanted to find something that I can work from home. And I was invited again to an interview with another insurance company. And I went, and again, at that point in time, the way they explained the commission, the compensation, I said to myself, okay, if I can do 4 policies a month, I can meet my needs, right? I can take care of my finances. It was not the career that I thought I was going to end up in. I just thought at that point, it was more of a desperation. And I remember I said, okay, I'm going to take this because I need to take something. And I remember my higher self once again said to me, but this was not the plans that you wanted. And it was just like that person was on my shoulder, and I remember turning my head saying, listen, I will do everything you want to do, but right now I need the money. So again, I was putting the money in front of my higher self. And I started the career. And I mean, again, one thing I've learned in life, if God puts you in a place, he will bless you. But when God say, or your higher self or your divine self says, this is not the avenue that you need to go in, and you go in it, you will get tricklings of anything, but you're not going to get the full blessing because you're not in the place that he wants you to be, right? You're not where you're supposed to be. So I started a career as a career advisor at the time. I brought all my clients in, and during the process, they actually sold me. At the time, I didn't realize I was doing this. Now, remember, at this point in time, I started a career. I had a crack in the ceiling in my house. I had still good credit. Everything was still good. It's just that now I ran out of money. But I started this career which is supposed to make my life better. And believe it or not, a year later, my credit was in the pits. And it's just this is what I'm talking about. When you're not where you're supposed to be, the blessing cannot flow the way it's supposed to flow. But again, it's a journey, and I'm saying this because there's always a lesson to be learned in the journey. So I started a career, and nobody knew. I went to work in a branch that it was all run by men. It was myself and one other lady was the only female in there. And they did not know the struggles that I was going through. They just saw somebody come in, and this person had a drive that had to make the money. They didn't know that I had to be sending $1,700 to the university every month to keep my son in university, plus maintain my mortgage and all the other bills. They just looked at me and thought, what the hell, this woman coming to disturb the groove? These guys have been here for 20 years, 5 years, 10 years. How dare you come in to dismantle the groove? And so I had to get paid. So I was working 7 days a week. Back in those days, we didn't have nothing to do online. Everything had to be in person. So Sunday afternoon, I cooked a meal for my kid, and I was driving across the highway to close a deal so that I would get paid, and that's how I was pretty much going. But it was like every time I got something, like I got a little bit, and then something else happened. So I felt like here I was, the rain was falling, I was working really hard, but I could never seem to just start climbing up there. Every time I climb up that hill, boom, it's like a mudslide, and I was flying right back down. And so it was like I was taking from Peter to pay Paul, and I was just, and there was a time there that, again, the kid was still in university. I'm doing what I had to do. Sometimes I didn't ever get paid on time. I would now have to, maybe like borrow from a friend just to make sure that my mortgage got paid. And then a couple days later, I got paid, and I would pay them back. But I was doing the juggle thing. But I learned in this journey, I really learned how to manage my finance. Like, I had been in finance for 25 years, but I was in the leasing sector of it, and I was paying my bills. I was doing all the things, but this was a time where I really had to focus on how I was living, how I was spending, the things I had in my life. Did I need it or I didn't need it? So I truly learned how to live on a budget. I truly learned how to, I always believe in you make an income, you don't spend it all, right? I had the discipline of, if I made $100, I try to put away $10 or $20 of it. So I always had that discipline. And that's what saved me, because at the end of it all, I had an emergency fund. So that emergency fund, with their payout that they paid me out, allowed me for 2 years. So that in itself was a blessing. And I had grew in my own personal walk tremendously in that 2 year. Like, I learned to know who I was as a person. So again, the journey is always a great thing. There's a lesson in everything that we go through. So now here I am. Here I am. And, as I said, I'm working for a corporation. And again, they told me you're self-employed, you're building a business and all the things. This is a lie, because you're not building a business when nothing is yours. Here I am. I brought in, I've probably brought like 250 clients of my own over that time period that I was with this company. Now, and when I was late, like when I left them, I had to leave all my clients. So again, they're sharing something with you saying you're building a business, but the business is not yours. The business is them. You're just literally working for them and they're taking your business. So one day I was in the office, as again, I said, I was working 5 days a week. I was working 7 days a week. And I felt my heart, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was just basically thought like, I can't do this. What am I like? I look around the office and every other advisor either had a heart attack or had a pacer. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute here. Everybody here has gone through something with this corporation that have caused them to have like a heart attack, right? And or had something happen to them that is an illness now. And I'm like, this is not the way I want to live my life. This is truly not the way I want to live my life. So in that process, one of the advisors, he was about to retire, and he came to me and he said, you can't make it in this company with just one contract. You need multiple streams of income. And I'm telling you, in all of this, I've been praying for something better to come along. And he drove me to the brokerage firm, and that's how I became a broker, even though I was working for this corporation. And again, because I had built up all these clients, I had almost 400 families. And again, I had 600 contracts. I'm saying, I'm going to be leaving all this that I've worked so hard for. Like, really? Like, I've done all this. What am I to do? I'm going to leave all of this. And again, so one thing I did, I said, I got my contract now, and I told them I am not paying for this office anymore. I was paying almost $800 for an office. It was smaller than a toilet, a bathroom. And I was paying $800. And I'm thinking, you're taking this $800 for rent before I even pay my mortgage. And it was like every time I make something, this corporation found a way to take my money, take all my money. So by the time they were finished paying, I had nothing to pay myself. As I said, at this point in time, my credit started to go into shambles. I never had this problem when I was unemployed. But now I'm working for a company which I'm supposed to be doing better. Now my financial is going into mess because now I don't have enough to pay all my bills. And so, and on top of that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting stressed out and whatnot. So in all of this, I made a conscious decision that I was going to walk away. And from it all, I'm going to walk away, leave my clients. And that's when I decided to incorporate myself and become Notable Wealth Management. And I became a broker. And so, I want to wrap this up real quick. And we will talk more about the journey along through my podcast. But the beautiful part is I was now on track because, again, my higher self came to me and says, what are you afraid of? You've already established a relationship with your clients. Walk away and start your corporation. And I incorporated myself. I became Notable Wealth Management, and I have almost 500 clients. It's 5 years going on 6. I have done much better. I'm less stressed. I now have weekends for myself because it's not that this career wasn't for me. I was just at the wrong place with the right gifts. So again, if you're in a place that you were not meant to be, the blessing is not going to flow the way it is. Today, my doors are like, today I'm going into 2026. And my pipeline is so full for January. It's unbelievable. So my thing is, you have to trust the process, but you have to trust yourself. You have to listen to your inner guides that are guiding you through the process. And, there's so much little tweaks and gifts that came through that journey that kept me going when things were rough, that got me through. I mean, my credit is good today. I'm back on track. It took some time. I'm going into my 6 years as notable wealth management. So as we end, like, as we go into 2026, I want you to trust in whatever you're about to step into and believe, especially if you make the time to spend with yourself and within your heart this is the right time and this is what you're meant to do. Trust the process and allow yourself to go through it. You are going to go through things, but if you are on the right path, those things will just be like water on duck's back, and eventually you will get to where you need to be. So in my next podcast, we will talk about RSP as we're coming into RSP season. So, make sure to hit and subscribe and follow me for more. And, stay tuned, but there's more to come. Thank you and have yourself a wonderful day.